An hour and a half from Cluj, between the Arieș Valley and Trascov Valley, there's the Bedeleu mountain, rich in attractions. I ventured for the first time after the Șipote waterfall in the direction of the viewpoint with the balcony and the Gate of the Dragons. In the second part of my hike, I descended among majestic rock towers on the rarely walked path marked with the yellow line, and the landscape was offering me a surprise at every step. We are on a beautiful but cold October day. I came to Arieș Valley to do another hike. My objective for today is the Bedeleu massif. I got to the trailhead on National Road 75, which traverses the valley of the Arieș River. A few days ago, somebody has painted in multiple places on the road the word rușine, meaning shame, referring to the fact that this road is in an increasingly bad condition. Too bad, because this could be an area with great touristic potential which could be exploited. But as we know, in our country the road infrastructure is not a strong point. We are happy if we manage to build 10 or 20 kilometers of highway in a year. I hope that this will change soon enough, during our lifetime. It's Sunday today and I have seen a lot of cars in the parking lot, so I guess I'll meet many hikers along the way. Right at the beginning, I have crossed a pretty unstable bridge over the Arieș. For those having difficulties with their balance, I recommend taking the longer way around, but for adrenaline junkies, it's a compulsory experience. In today's episode, we'll see several interesting objectives. First, the upper Șipote waterfall, which also has a lower pair, which can be seen from the main road, where I have also stopped to take some pictures and videos. Then, a cave as well will follow, the Gate of the Dragons, a spectacular viewpoint over the Arieș Valley and Below mountains. Then we'll see what else we'll find on the Bedeleu plateau. And there is Scărița Belioara, on which we'll have a nice view later as well, and on another occasion it will be worth it to make a visit there, being one of the popular objectives in the area. I started on the red cross marking, and the plan is to do a circuit and descend on the yellow line. I got in about an hour to the junction where we can descend to the upper Șipote waterfall, and as you can see we have an amazing view over the Bedeleu massif. We'll have to follow a trail which descends quite steeply and is usually slippery to get to the waterfall. This is probably the most difficult part. Here it wasn't clear which way to go. I had to cross the river, and this way I'm gonna follow the red cross to the viewpoint and the cave. Now for some time the trail follows the stream bed or the route, because it cannot be called a trail. There's no water and the rocks are quite dry, so there are no problems, it's not slippery. The trail crosses a small scree, and slowly we reach the steepest portion of the hike, the climb before the viewpoint in the forest. For now, the trail is mostly flat because we are getting around the big rock walls from below in order to climb them later. Oh, that's a nice climb. Here comes a steep rocky portion. Which is also slippery because of the fallen leaves. Well, here I have to use my hands as well. This is recommended only in dry weather. If it was muddy or icy, it would be unsafe. I've reached in 2.5 hours the first unofficial viewpoint, from where you can get in 5 to 10 minutes to the official one with the balcony. Beware, on the balcony only at most 3 persons are allowed at the same time. From the first viewpoint there is almost no ascent, the trail goes straight. From the balcony, very close, is the Gate of the Dragons and the cave, for which we have to stray from the trail a few tens of meters. From here I continue to climb to the Bedeleu plateau. I have met several hikers, but most of them turn around here and go back the way they came, so I expect to be mostly alone from now on. As you can hear, I got again in the area of bikers. The trail follows along this fence, the sound of the engines can be heard for 15-20 minutes already. Don't get me wrong, I also love to drive, I have driven off-road as well, and not little, and not just anywhere, but for instance toward the village at the highest altitude in Europe, in Georgia. This is also an interesting hobby. Possibilities must be created for those who'd like to practice it, but in a way which doesn't destroy nature. And here I'm referring to the plants, disturbing animals, destroying the soil, and so on, and last but not least, in a way which disturbs as little as possible the other people in the area. There are the cutesies. According to the GPS, the trail is somewhere on my left side, but I guess a new trail has formed because of that fence. The marking is here, it looks like a junction, but the continuation should be through this valley. From here next to the fence, the trail continues through this meadow. There are markings on some rocks. After about 4.5 hours from the start, I got to these signs, according to which I have 2.5 hours back to Sălciua de Jos village, where I left the car following the yellow line. I got here in 10 minutes from the other sign, and here there are curiously already 3.5 hours. I don't know why it got an hour longer, but we'll find out which version is closer to reality. During the autumn it's not problematic to go forward here, but I imagine that during spring and summer the vegetation is much denser, which makes it much more difficult to pass this portion. Here, right after that sign, the trail splits into two. One version goes straight down and the other one in the forest. Now I'll pick the left one, that's where I see markings, and according to the map it has some switchbacks, so perhaps it's less steep. Well, this surprised me, just like that. Right now the yellow colors are dominating in the forest, of course combined with the greens. The leaves haven't started to rust yet. The trail got interesting. I'm getting to some spectacular rocks. I don't really get those who say that it isn't worth it to hike this circuit. Look what's here. Amazingly beautiful. Well, here you must be careful where you step. On this scree, it's not exactly pleasant to descend. In these cases, it's good to have hiking poles. And if the group is formed from more persons, each has to be careful not to kick the rocks and hit the others. Or if you kick them, shout, "Rock!" Luckily, I don't have to descend that way. At least for now, the trail is going around it. From the last sign up there, it took me about an hour to get here, where according to the map the two versions of the yellow line are meeting. I cannot really imagine where the other one descends. In the meanwhile, we can see some typical traditional houses of the Moz people. Looks like the other trail descends somewhere there. Here we meet another wide trail, which could be another descending variant. It looks like I don't have to follow that edge, rather cross it. As you can see, it's a clear trail. I can see that up there it crosses the scree, but after that, perhaps it descends through those trees. I cannot imagine otherwise. We shall check it out next time. We can already see Sălciua. From the plateau I got to this junction in about an hour and 15 minutes. The red triangle goes to the right back to the waterfall, but I have to go straight ahead on the yellow line. Spectacular! It has to be seen live. I had to go slightly to the left from the trail to get to this wide forest road. After 1.5 hours of descending and 6.5 hours from the start, I'm closing the circuit. From here I have 5 to 10 minutes to the car. Right at the end, as you can see, there's a private land surrounded by fence, and normally the trail would cross it. But I was forced to go there through the bushes to avoid the private land. It was a very beautiful hike and I highly recommend it, especially when it's dry. This way the steep portions won't be as slippery. And it could be a good idea as well to come when the vegetation is not dense, like the period I chose now, in the autumn. I left the car at the main road, but you can gain about 5 minutes by driving down on this unpaved road to that lower parking. My car isn't made for that, but on some occasions I drove down here. Then it was interesting to drive back during the winter on this half-frozen slope. In the darkness like this, it's even more of a challenge to cross this bridge because you don't see your surroundings to guide your balance. It moves quite a lot. I've crossed suspended bridges like this before, but most probably I'm heavier now, so it wiggles more because of the weight. Perhaps it's better to stay on one side so it doesn't swing around. I mean, when the left side goes down, then the right side.
Whoa.
In these cases, I stop and wait until it calms down a little. This is the perfect cool down after a long hike. We pass over the tracks of the Mokonica railway, there's the parking lot, and of course, as usual, only my car is still there. There's a dog who stared till he crossed behind me, then scared the living hell out of me. It happens. In 16 kilometers we climb 1000 meters and descend the same amount, sometimes on very steep portions, which will make us work hard. The physical difficulty of the hike is 7 vampire teeth. The most technical portions are the steep climb on the rocks covered by dirt and dry leaves before the viewpoint and the descent on the scree. Because of those, the technical difficulty is 5.5 vampire teeth. On this route, it's difficult to be bored. Several objectives and beautiful views to the Arieș Valley and Muntele Mare follow us along the way. The satisfaction factor is 7.5 vampire teeth.